Another round of Premier League fixtures is in the history books. Another weekend of Premier League football has been and gone. And yet it's been another embarrassing, poor, abysmal weekend for those match day officials. And this man and the PGMOL have a lot to answer for. Hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to another video. Yes, today's video is going to centre again around another rant, another rave, another finger being pointed at the PGMOL and Howard Webb over some of the embarrassing and ridiculous decisions that occurred this past weekend alone in certain games in the Premier League. The best league supposedly in the world has some of the most stupidest, moronic and embarrassing referees to officiate those games, and this past weekend provided another host of examples as to why the officials are not fit for purpose, the standards of refereeing are declining, and the usage of VAR is in the mud. And we're going to be talking about it all. We're going to be talking about all the incidents that occurred this past weekend, the major ones especially. We will bring up some of the minor ones that occurred this weekend, but we're going to be talking about the major ones that mostly seem to happen on the Sunday. But before we go any further in discussing all of that and much more, we're going to be, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and forever be greatly appreciated. Get involved in the comment section. Let me know your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it on this very controversial, very debatable, but very intriguing topic as well. So please do use and abuse that comment section, people. Talk to me on this. I'm sure you have a lot of things to say when it comes to the PGMOL, VAR, and of course the standard of refereeing in this country. Without further ado though, let's get on with the video. Let's talk some of the incidents that took place this past weekend. And there's only really one place to start. That is the Arsenal versus Liverpool game. This was seen as the biggest game of this round of fixtures this past weekend. This was seen as the main event of the weekend in the Premier League. And it provided a huge talking point, a huge controversial moment. And here we are once again talking about VAR and about refereeing. We should be talking about the game. We should be talking about how it was a poor performance from Liverpool, but they managed to pick up a point. We should be talking about an Arsenal side that have fought back from so much this past week to pick up a point against Liverpool, and it potentially could have been more had they just held their nerve right the way till the end. But instead, we're talking about the overbearing shadow that is referees and VAR. And the PGMOL have got a lot to answer for, particularly for the controversial incident that occurred very late on, where Jakub Kiwior was judged to have fouled Dominik Szoboszlai in the build-up to a potential third goal for Arsenal. In the build-up to the goal, Kiwior wins a header over the Hungarian midfielder. Arsenal go on to score. But during the build-up play, after that header was won, Anthony Taylor, the referee, blew his whistle. Now, there are two trails of thought for this one. Number one, the goal potentially should have stood. Anthony Taylor shouldn't have blew his whistle. And if obviously the foul was judged to be a proper foul, VAR would have interfered. The second trail of thought is that when the referee did blow his whistle, the likes of Ibrahima Konate and Virgil van Dijk stopped playing. They heard the whistle, they stopped. Only Trent Alexander-Arnold seemed to be the only man to not hear the whistle and play on, but Trent and Van Dijk stopped. Van Dijk and Konate stopped. There is the potential argument that the goal might not have occurred. Even if the referee hadn't blown his whistle, maybe Konate and Van Dijk could have got back and stopped it some way, somehow. But the idea is, now that the whistle did go, we will never know. We will never know whether the goal would have actually stood. We will never know if the goal would have gone in the first place. And we'll never know if Liverpool would have managed to survive with those two in particular maybe getting back to defend their goal. In my personal opinion, it was the softest of softest fouls you will ever see be given. I don't even think it was a foul. I think Liverpool got away with one. That's not to say there is some conspiracy theory for Liverpool against Arsenal with the referees here. This is just a horrible moment from a referee that essentially seemingly panicked, cracked himself in a really big moment in a really big game, panicked, blew his whistle, and ultimately seemingly, potentially, cost Arsenal a goal there. Now, Arsenal fans, I know you're crying, I know you're moaning, I know you think everything is going against you this season, whether it be through the amount of injuries that you supposedly have, or whether it be through referees seemingly being against you. I understand the frustration, I understand the anger. If this goal had gone against Liverpool and was chalked off for Liverpool, I too would be angry and frustrated and annoyed by such an appalling decision. But there has to be some sort of middle ground here. Every time Arsenal seem to drop points, it seems to be they've got an excuse at the ready in the form of the referee and the officials cost us the game. I agree to an extent, but I also think your team, your manager needs to also take some responsibility, and you need to recognise that. And I think there needs to be some sort of middle ground between the two things that you need to find and you need to start acknowledging. That is one thing I will say about Arsenal. Because every single time you drop points, there seems to be this Arsenal group of fans that seem to come out and they seem to be like berating the referee. Oh, the referee's against us. The referee refs the game differently when it's Arsenal. I understand the frustration, but I just think that you are in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's just my take on it. I could be 100% wrong, and I'm sure you'll let me know in the comments if I am. I just think you are just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I think if it had been like another day, it would have been Arsenal would have got the look of the green and another team would have suffered. I just think you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. And that is coming from someone that has defended you against these decisions time and time and time and time again. I understand your frustration. I understand your anger. I understand why you may think the kind of things that you do against referees, VAR and the PGMOL and whoever else may be involved. But I just think you are in the wrong place at the wrong time and you are a little bit unlucky in terms of getting certain decisions go for you. I also think, like I said earlier, you may need to acknowledge that your team or your manager may make mistakes that you need to pick out. But I understand the frustration. Because here's the thing. It's not just your team that these referees are against. These referees are consistent. We always go, referees need to be consistent. Well, they are consistent. They're consistent at being inconsistent. Because these referees don't just attack Arsenal. If you watch the entirety of the Premier League, you'll know that these referees give these types of decisions against other teams as well. And even for other teams as well. Take the Crystal Palace game against Tottenham as a prime example. A fantastic win for Crystal Palace, not won all season until typically Spurs arrive in town. Well, I say arrive in town, it's a sort of London derby of sorts, isn't it? Until Tottenham arrive at your ground and they pick up their first win of the season. Now, this one may get a little bit swept under the carpet because the result went the right way. Palace eventually did win the game by 1-0, but it could have been so much more. It could have been curtains for Tottenham had this incident had the result that I believe it deserved. I'm of course talking about Mickey van der Ven's foul on Ismaila Sarr. Sarr is racing towards the ball. The ball has been knocked over the top of the Tottenham defence. He's racing towards the ball and Van der Ven on the recovery takes him down. Now, in a week in which we have seen William Saliba be red carded for something similar, and in the same week in which Tosin Adebayo did it to Diogo Jota but got away with not being sent off in the Liverpool-Chelsea game on Sunday, this was seen as a major controversial moment, simply for the reason that Sarr, with one touch, is pretty much through on goal, has an excellent goal-scoring opportunity, and that is brought to a complete halt by Van de Ven's poor challenge, which in my opinion should have resulted in a red card. Now, of course, Arsenal fans will again be jumping on this. Well, how come Saliba's was, but Adebayo's wasn't? How come Saliba's was, but Van de Ven's wasn't? This is this is Arsenal being treated unfairly by referees, blah, blah, blah. And again, I just think you are in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong officials, maybe. This was a poor display from the referee once again. This was a poor moment. This should have resulted in Van de Ven being sent off, Tottenham being reduced to 10 men, and the potential of Crystal Palace going on to win that game by more than just the one goal could have been a real possibility. Tottenham got away with one here. And it's not just Palace who could have obviously suffered from that as well. Tottenham benefit massively, but they don't just benefit in that game, but they also benefit for the next 3 domestic games. If Van de Ven gets sent off there, he has to serve a 3-match suspension, which would rule him out of the League Cup game. It would rule him out of the next Premier League game and whatever domestic game comes up after the game on Sunday against Aston Villa. So it's Tottenham's League Cup opponents and their next 2 Premier League opponents that also suffer because Mickey Van de Ven should not be anywhere near the matchday squad, but because he didn't get red carded, he now will be. This is why these kinds of decisions are important despite the right result happening to the team that didn't quite benefit from that personal decision. You see what I'm saying? Tottenham get away with one massively there. And I see the justification from certain pundits on Sky Sports. I see them. They're saying, well, Sarr is running away from goal. Sarr is having to go wide of the goal. The reason why is because he starts in that position. The reason why is because he's trying to create the angle so that when he gets onto the ball, he can obviously create a shooting opportunity for himself. That is the reason why. He's not going to continue to run towards the corner flag in that situation. He's obviously going to drive towards goal. This was completely baffling to me. And obviously, he's closer than what Saliba was. He's closer to the goal than what the Saliba challenge was. The justification from these so-called experts, these so-called pundits, is baffling to me. It's completely weird to me. And it says to me, like, do you watch football? Did you watch this moment? Or are you just making this up on the spot? Or, I honestly don't get. If you haven't seen it, go and watch the incident and then go and watch the people on Sky Sports talk about it, because it is absolutely baffling, their justification for that entire incident. And then arguably the worst one of the weekend, the absolute worst one of the weekend, Man United versus West Ham. The penalty that was never a penalty went in West Ham's favour. I don't understand how the referee can judge this one. I don't. And especially because in the Liverpool-Arsenal game, Ibrahima Konate makes a clumsy sort of challenge. He just gets enough of the ball, in my opinion, for it to not be a penalty. But if I'm judging the two, that one is more of a penalty than the other one. If I had to say that you have to give one of them as a penalty, I'm probably giving the Konate one over the Manchester United one, in all honesty. I couldn't even banter it. That's how bad this decision was. I don't like Man United as much as the next guy, but I couldn't even banter this decision because it was such a bad decision that I couldn't even say anything. And obviously now, in the grand scheme of things, now that we know what's happened in hindsight with Erik ten Hag being sacked, it makes that decision even worse because, you know, maybe in another world that decision doesn't get made and maybe Ten Hag keeps his job for at least another week, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, it's such a baffling decision, that one. I can't believe the referee got to that decision in the first place, and I can't believe the VAR didn't even go, you know what, mate, maybe you didn't want to check that one. Maybe you might want to check that one and maybe that may not have actually been a penalty in the first place. It's so baffling and it's so strange to me. Everything about that decision. It really, really is. And I truly cannot believe the referees arrived at that decision. It's crazy to me. And like I say, it cost Erik ten Hag his job, seemingly. I mean, the writing had been on the wall for a while, but maybe he could have lasted a little bit longer. West Ham pick up 3 points. Man United lose 3 points. Lose at least a point. It's honestly exhausting to point out all these mistakes. But this man's got a lot to answer for. And I can't wait to watch him do his little show with Michael Owen during the international break, where he will bring up... I hope he'll bring up these talking points, because they need to be answered for. And he's going to sit there and he's going to be as awkward as possible. He's going to throw up all those little caveats. He's going to be all kind of weird and awkward about it. He's going to have his script ready in which he's going to be very vague about everything, and he's going to hide behind certain things like, oh, it's a grey area, oh, it's not clear and obvious, oh, it's not this, it's not that, it's not anything. And Michael Owen's going to sit there with that stupid smile on his face and nod along and go, yes, Mr. Webb, no, Mr. Webb, 3 bags full, Mr. Webb, as he usually does. And we're not going to get anywhere with this. We're already seeing Sky Sports pundits fall in love with PGMOL and refereeing. We saw in the Liverpool-Chelsea game how much Gary Neville was willing to easily change his mind, and Mike Dean was easily going to go along with him purely based on the opinion and the decision of the referee on the pitch. They were easily going to have their minds swayed. They weren't going to challenge anything. We saw how Jamie Carragher put a tweet up questioning how a referee arrived at a certain... I can't remember what it was now off the top of my head, but we saw how Jamie Carragher was questioning a refereeing decision and then very quickly took that particular tweet down. It makes me think that this is... You'd be forgiven for thinking that things like this are scripted. You'll be forgiven for thinking that Sky are basically in bed with the PGMOL. You'd be forgiven for thinking that with the way that certain things like this take place. But to say that this is happening to just one team in particular is absolutely ridiculous. We are all victims somewhere along the line through the incompetence of PGMOL, VAR, and the overall officiating of referees. It is in the mud. It is very much in the mud, and there's no way that you can justify it. There's absolutely no way that you can justify it. Football fans, more and more of them are starting to wise up and see through the lies, see through the complete mess of justifications that you're putting out there every single match day. And we're sick and tired of it. So my advice to the likes of Howard Webb and to the likes of these ex-referees that they bring on Sky Sports every day, to the likes of these pundits, the likes of these commentators and so on and so forth, is just own your mistakes. Own your mistakes. If you've made a mistake, if your friends made a mistake, just be like, yeah, they've made a mistake there. Because we can accept human error. What we can't accept is recognizing human error, seeing human error, but trying to protect that person. trying to justify the injustifiable. I think that's right. It's purely ridiculous, in my personal opinion, and something that needs to be stopped ASAP. But those are just the thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of PGMOL, Howard Webb, refereeing, VAR, and everything else in between? The standards in decline, in my opinion. But what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it, on this topic down below in the comments section. Would love to hear from you all on that. Hit the like button on the way if you haven't already. Subscribe if you are new or want to see more content like this. Both things always and forever be greatly appreciated. And of course, thank you very much for your continued or even brand new support. It's very much appreciated to me. Absolutely love you guys. Thank you very much for supporting myself and the channel. Absolutely adore you all. Otherwise, I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, and I will see you and speak with you all again soon in another video or live stream or whatever it may be. Cheers, guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Speak to you all again very, very soon.